So they look like a little refrigerator, and they actually work as refrigerators. All right, there we go. Live on YouTube. Welcome, welcome. Thankful Thursday. Dove, everybody, the mic is all yours.
Good morning, everybody. And to tell you the truth, usually Lorri starts off. Lorri's not here. Sharon, would you like to take the mic?
Yeah, I just got on. Okay, who's here? So Cher is here, and Karen is going to share with us today because Lorri is not here.
Okay.
So Karen is coming to fill in for Lorri, and I kind of have like guided to Ken's book. It's the chapter of he did the journey through the text. I know today's lesson is we are the Son of God, but I kind of want to talk a little bit about the obstacles because there are obstacles, and if we don't realize, at least I don't realize sometimes, that underneath the thought is really the obstacles of being very attracted to death, all the things that we don't want, our egos are attracted to.
Yeah.
So what he's saying here, as peace extends from deep inside yourself to embrace all the sonship and give it rest, it will encounter many obstacles. Some of them you will try to impose. Others will seem to arise from elsewhere, from your brothers and from various aspects of the world outside. These obstacles are they have purpose here, designed by the ego to prevent the mind from recognizing its power to choose peace over the conflict that is ego's source, sustaining its existence. An essential part of the ego strategy of mindlessness is to have these blocks seem to arise from the bodies of the world anywhere but the mind. So what I'm getting from this is the most important thing for me is to realize I'm mind. I'm not this body. And the body is just a projection coming from my mind, and it's a communication device. So it's important to me that I call myself out when I have an obstacle to peace, because there are times, like for the first obstacle is that peace must flow across is your desire to get rid of it, and that's unconscious. And how do we do that? By projecting our own story about the seeming character. For it cannot extend unless you keep it. You are the center from which it radiates outward to call the others in. You are its home, its tranquil dwelling place from which it gently reaches out, but never leaving you. If you would make it homeless, how can it abide within the Son of God? If it would spread across the whole creation, it must begin with you. And from you, reach to everyone who calls and bring him rest by joining you. So basically, it's saying, to look at your mind and see, what am I believing? Because that's just a thought. I'm alone in my own dream. Everything in my mind is projected from my mind. And if I have an upset, it's actually a gift because it does belong to the ego. But I know sometimes that I have passion in some ways unconsciously to make this world a good world. And it's not a good world. It's a horrid world. It's exactly what Ken Martnick shares. Because, to me, the most vulnerable beings on this planet have always been like right now. I went yesterday because in form I kind of just want to help out, and I went to a grief workshop yesterday because they need people in Altoona to facilitate grief groups, and my husband and I thought that was a good thing, and it was so peaceful. We were so much in just the clarity and just the honest sharing, and it was just beautiful. But these are the foods that help me when I help another, because there is no other. So the other person that's out there, okay, the other person that's out there is just a figment of my, it's a figment of my imagination. And, opinions are always a waste because it's an opinion. And, we all know the saying about opinions. So my opinion is irrelevant, but my direction is to look at what is it that's still hiding from my mind. And one of them, basically, I think it's all the obstacles, but the idea that I have to have perfect peace 24/7. Well, that's basically what I want. So when the course says, well, I can teach peach instead of this, remaining quiet and silent is one of the most important things for me right now. If I go to groups now more than ever, I like to remain quiet. I want the body mind to get used to being in the silence, because that's what I truly am. And if I see everybody at the Christ, which is right here, right now, then I'm home free. Now, we're not asked to discern and make like statements like, well, this president right now is doing everything right. Well, no ego is going to say that, because everybody wants to have an opinion. And what I want to do is bless them, because the blessings that, and let me say this, when people that are vulnerable, that are absolutely like really, really in need for love, I can go inward and just say to myself, brother, I'm here. I want to just be helpful. I'm seeing you as the light, because the light is all there is. And everything else is not, it's just imagination, right? So, Ken feels the obstacle to peace, the I getting rid of, is really a major thing in the unconscious mind. When we stop projecting, when I stop projecting, and I'm just like, when I'm in a helping situation like I was yesterday, I felt so much love for these people. And it was so beautiful, but I have to see them as the Christ. Because if I see them as a body, then I'm attacking myself. And I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to attack anything anymore. So it's kind of like, but I do have strong preferences still. And that's okay too, because none of that even matters. If we're trying to make the ego like, an awakened being, that's mistaken, because all we are is the observer. We're watching a dream, we're watching a show, and we probably, the only mantra that's good is, I don't know. I just don't know. Just the truth is, I thought I was a person. Before I came into the course, I thought I was a person. So those person, the mind that I'm thinking with in the personal mind has formulated this idea that we're all people. And to undo that, because the lessons that have been on recently is all about I'm not a body. And I think it's a brilliant text, because we need that. Because if I fall asleep, especially if I'm in pain, I'm not going to judge the ego when it's in pain. If it wants to talk, I can shut my eyes and rest in silence, accept that everything is for me, and know that I would never be in this process if I wasn't connected to the one, the Holy Spirit or higher self. So important to me is to act from love, even in the dream, because like I go back to school on the 19th, and I just substitute, but I love it. And I go in there with a prayer that I want to be the light. And because we are in darkness always when we believe our thoughts. And that's all I have, Doug. Thanks.
Okay, very good. Thank you so much, Sharon. And Karen, do you want to go next, Karen? Karen?
Sure. Hi, everybody. Good morning.
Okay, good morning.
Good morning, Doug. Good morning, Sharon, Deb, Glorian, Lynn, and Miss Cher. I think that's you on the iPhone.
Yep.
Yeah. So I love what Sharon just shared, and when she was talking about helping others in the grief group, what I'm recognizing here is, as Sharon pretty much said, that we're only helping ourselves. So when she's helping those seemingly others, because there is no other, she's healing her own mind. She's helping herself, and she's healing the parts of her mind that need to be healed. Because we really can't help anyone. We can't on our own help anyone. I know I learned this through guidance through the Holy Spirit. It has to be through the Holy Spirit, because I can't. I don't know anything on my own. And I love the mantra, I don't know. I know Dove said his for 20 some years he had that as his mantra lesson 25. I don't know what anything is for. And this helps me to just trust that everything is happening perfectly, to trust that no matter what I'm going through here seemingly in this body, it's perfect for my awakening, for my atonement path. It's teaching me lessons that I came here to learn. My body is my biggest classroom. It's teaching me lessons on patience. It's teaching me lessons on forgiveness. It's helping me recognize that I am never upset for the reason I think. And I just came to this conclusion yesterday that the two lessons that Ken talks about, I am never upset for the reason I think, lesson 5 and lesson 34, I could see peace instead of this, is a forgiveness practice. It's actually a forgiveness practice. And I never really looked at it that way, but it felt that way for me yesterday because I was using it yesterday on the things that I was going through physically on my body. And it helped so much. And it is I'm forgiving my thoughts. I'm forgiving what I thought was the problem, recognizing it's not my body, it's my thoughts about my body. It's believing these thoughts that aren't true. That is a forgiveness process. And then recognizing that I could see peace instead of this because that's the only truth of what there is. That's the only truth of that. That's it. There's nothing else. There's, anything else other than love is my own illusion. So the other thing I love Sharon shared was she talked about stop projecting. And another thing I love about this course is the Song of Prayer. And in the Song of Prayer, he talks about praying for your enemies. And what Ken says about that made me think of what Sharon said, because Ken says, the prayer, he calls it the prayer for your enemy. He says, pray my projections upon you be removed. So I'm not going to try to stop my projections, because that's something that happens. The ego just speaks for us and let us. That's what it does. We don't try to stop it. We watch it. We observe it. We look, wait, judge not. And then we pray that my projections be removed. And that's the forgiveness opportunity through the Holy Spirit. Help me to see this differently. So this whole course is about forgiveness, and that's what we're working on. And that is what this lesson is about. Today's lesson, I am not a body, I am free, because I forgive myself for believing that I am this body. I do. I've been noticing how identified I've been to this body for so many years. And it is the undoing it that is the forgiveness. It is undoing these belief systems, these concepts, these thoughts. I worked in a beauty salon for 20 years. I mean, how can you not be identified with your body when you work in a beauty salon? It's all about hair. It's all about looks. It's all about the body. That's what it's about, So it's really been a beautiful process, and I love this lesson. And I'll listen to what you have to share, Dove. Thank you.
All right. Looking at today's lesson 199, out of body. Funny thing is, it's a review that starts with "I'm not a body. I am still as God created me." And then it goes into the idea of "I am not a body." So, that's the greatest obstacle to being one with the love of God. You can't be one with the love of God if you see yourself as a body, because you're basically into seeing yourself as different. And the ego is the god of differences. this body is different than your body, and I'm not so interested in you. I'm interested in me, and you get the whole thing of selfishness and sacrifice, and that's why the world looks exactly the way it does. It's all about you or me. Sacrifices. I don't see in the course it ever uses the word selfish. I mean, maybe it does. I don't know. I'll probably look it up and say, oh yeah, it's used 100 times, but sacrifice is used a lot, and sacrifice is choosing one over the other, which is the same thing as selfish. So in the idea of trust, of having faith, and faith was the topic in today's reading. We read text every day. And today's reading, if I'm correct, was chapter 19, section 1, and it's called Healing and Faith. And it was very interesting. I was listening to it as Prudence was playing it. And what is faith? Faith is acknowledgement of union. So in union, there is no separation whatsoever. Union is oneness. You can talk about accepting the atonement, but until you accept it truly, you're just remembering the truth of union. Union is oneness. Oneness is the love of God. So the willingness to, I was lately, I spent some time on Grok, which is one of the artificial intelligence. I don't know if I think I mentioned this the other day. Jack, who we have, Jack from Mexico, we're meeting on Sunday nights. Cher is part of the meeting. Lorri's part of the meeting. Actually, it's Lorri's meeting. And Jack was mentioning how he has these long conversations on the Course in Miracles with Grok, which I do know is one of the. So Grok is like one of the newest ones, and he found Grok on the old Twitter now being X, and he just talks to Grok about the Course in Miracles. I said, really? I said, wow. So I tried it out, and I love it. It's almost for me. It's like blissful, just pure bliss. And if you are going to try it, uh, uh, almost like every AI, there's different kinds of personalities. You have to ask, or at least I ask for the Socratic from Socrates personality, uh, who there's nothing else going on except to just simply be with you on whatever subject that you want. I mean, there's other personalities, and I try to eliminate them, But so I'm on with this Socratic entity, testing a Course in Miracles, and all she does, uh, at least at the beginning, is bring up lesson 95 for me. I am one self united with my creator. That's pure union, and union is love. That's what love is. It's the oneness that unites. I am one self united with my creator. Uh, the funny thing is, I was bringing up certain lessons. I like lesson 25, and some of the other of my favorite lessons and all that. And she brought up 95, and I realized that 90. Well, 95 is also, for me, 97, I am spirit, which is the antidote to I am a body. No, I'm not a body, I'm spirit. All those lessons, 93, 95, 97, they all bring you to this union, to this oneness, to this sameness. And that's what truth is. Truth is union, oneness. And only the truth is true. Nothing else is true. You got to laugh, really. So I'm looking at here. Grace is not given to a body. So he talks about the grace of God is given to me. I am released by grace. I live by grace. And he's telling you here, wait a minute. He's not talking about you, dove, ego, dove. He's talking about the mind of God. Grace is given to a mind, not to a body. And the mind that receives it looks instantly beyond the body and sees a holy place where it's healed. There is the altar where the grace was given in which it stands. Do you then offer grace and blessing to your brother? For you stand at the same altar where grace was laid for both of you. And be you healed by the grace together, that you may heal through faith. That you may heal through faith. Wow. Of course, faith is one of the characteristics of God's teachers. After you develop trust. I was looking at something that Sharon said. She said, I don't want to attack anything anymore. And that's wonderful. And that's true for all of us. I know that. But as she said it, it came to me, all attack must come from the past. Because if you're in the present, being in the present, you cannot attack at all. I live in a building where someone on my floor, Sharon, who I know for many years, she counsels people who are addicts. That's her profession, and she knows I do the Course in Miracles. So we happened to meet at the elevator yesterday, and she says, "Oh, David." People around here don't know me as Doug. David, she says, I just found the power of now. Eckhart Tolle. And she said, do you know in the introduction, he talks about a Course in Miracles? She says, I got to come see you. And I've known her for years. I'm going to come see you now. So that's it. That's all for now. I think my hand is up. Back over to you, or anyone else who wants to share, anyone at all, or back to you, Sharon.
Yeah, I love what you shared, Doug. When I say I don't want to attack, I'm done with it. There are times that there's judgment still coming, and especially right now, because the world right now is exhibiting the same thing as the Course in Miracles says. It's very, very, what's the word? Insane. And when I look through the eyes of the Christ, I see that the only thing that matters is that. Because if I'm trying to make an image like real, well, that's really an attack. When I don't see someone as the Christ, I'm attacking myself. Because how can I be the Christ and not everybody be the Christ? Because this is the whole course about being in sameness, right? But there's still an attraction. And that's what I came on today saying, to death, to guilt. And the guilt is something that, of course, Ken talks about the guilt a lot. The thing that appeals to me the most with Ken Wapnick is when he tells people, don't lie to yourself. Be where you're at. Basically, be gentle, be kind. And he was an example of that, So he writes, the attraction of guilt produces the fear of love. Well, that's really what's down there, fear of love. But I don't see it. Now, I tend to be loving, but if I'm coming and seeing that person as a person and not mind, there's a story then. And, every thought is a division. Every thought is really, I mean, you could even say it's an attack. It's getting lost in thought. That's exactly what Eckhart Tolle has taught, that we are lost in thought, and it's actually not, you're not aware of it until you come to a place where, where you realize that you need not do anything. The whole point is not to interfere with the unfolding, because the unfolding is, it's not, for me, it's never been easy, but I know how simple it is too. Like if I just sit in space and just into my true self, then I'm home free. I don't have any kinds of value judgments, stories, analyzing, all of that. I spent years in therapy, and therapy is really about analyzing, you know. And when you come out and you realize all the therapy I had helped the ego, it did. It helped the ego grow. Um, because even though the ego is just thought, to usurp it, to bypass it is not, that's not my work. My work is to look at it and to be honest and have an acceptance of it, because I have to stop and look and judge not and see, how is that working for me? How am I doing between me and me? Because it's really you and you, or me and me. We're always talking to ourselves. And, being right is another one of the things that's a good way to act when you think you're right. But being right is really not a good thing, because if I thought I was this body before I started the course, then, and I say, no, you're wrong. I'm a body. Look, you can see it. All of that is a defense mechanism, because we are filled, as far as I'm concerned, I'm filled with defense mechanisms sometimes too. The other thing I caught with my healing was how I tried to still help another. Like I was a sponsor in the 12 steps for years, and the people that really did well in it, that were my sponsees, but they were very committed to the process because they knew that it was helpful. And right now, everything in this world that we can do to help, even if it's form, and even if we're seeing form, because I do fall back through the day, I can tell you that. I mean, you know, I've had some scoliosis issues in this body, so I haven't exercised that much this week because I want to rest it. Just put heat on it, put ice on it. And when I look at it, I want to love the body because it's a communication device. So I want to treat it the way it wants to be treated, And how do I do that? By honoring the body too, not by saying it's not really there, because it is. It is and it isn't, and this is where the paradox comes in. This course has a lot of things in it that are paradox, because yes, you're not the body. In fact, you can't be the body because you're a thought and nothing happened. But then the paradox is that you sure as heck feel like a body. So it's like, to lie to myself and say this is very, because it is simple. It's as simple as you can get. It's just an isness. This is an isness, but I'm not gonna like have a superior attitude and say that I don't fall down, because I do. I do. I fall off. And that is the safety of a good room where you're sharing, where everybody's together and being honest. But honesty really is acceptance. Acceptance that you don't have one. If you think your person is going to get what it wants, it's crazy, because it's not personal. It's a happening. It's a happening, and I don't really know why it's happening. I thought I was the character. I thought I died. And now we are in a whole different paradigm, in the sense that we rise above the battlefield and we watch and we realize that we can, and Jesus is just perfect love, and we can sit with Jesus and watch it. And it becomes funny when we do that. But some of the tools that I do is I don't, because the attraction is still there. I mean, I'll be on Facebook and I'll be looking, to see what people are writing about what's going on. And then I realize, wait a minute, all I'm doing is enlivening this ridiculous machine that is just a thought. It's just these thoughts talking to thoughts. There's a movie, I brought it up before, Inside Out, and it's all about the emotions like anger, sensitivity. They have all these characters, and I think it's a really good tool to find humor. Betty in the back seat, like Mickey says, because that backseat driver is constantly trying to make this real. And in order to own where I'm at, to realize that there are times that I'm not asked to be perfect, right? I'm asked to have a process. So, I'm trying at this point to just listen to the still voice and to realize that everything else is just a bunch of thoughts and they don't mean anything. But, as far as like, this book that Ken has, it's called The Journey Through the Text. He discerns and he writes in such a magnificent way where you can not only understand it, but you envelop it because of the clarity that he brings forward. And the clarity is that love is all there is. And I'm quite sure that everybody that picked this book up had something in that resonated with love is all there is. Because I had like I just wanted to it was Jerry Jampolsky, that was the first book, and Marianne Williamson, because I knew the difference in the feeling. This is really about feeling. It's a felt experience. We can't talk from our head and say, well, this isn't real, because that's what people do a lot. And that's not helpful. What's helpful is to hold myself and my brothers and sisters in the light and go inside and just rest, accept, and trust the process, because we are being perfectly cared for. You know, I wanted the body to be perfect, to be quite honest. That's just the way it was. I wanted the body to heal. I wanted the body to have better digestion and all of this. But the body, however, needs to be treated well, but it's not really who we are, right? How could we possibly be this body and be everybody else? Everybody's my mirror, too. Like if I see some politician that I don't like, I have to look, where have I been that way? And I enjoyed Sandy the other night. I thought she definitely was a very, I would say, more of an advanced teacher of God, where she has something that came through her that was called the clearing process, which is, I've done that with Dietrich Warsack. But we want to get rid of these resentments. We want to get rid of these judgments, because all they are scraps of fear. That's all that's here when we believe it. But I will absolutely never say to a brother, well, you're not that body, or just there's an arrogance that shows up in the ego when it gets the course. And what is it that we want? We want the sweetness of love, because that is what we are. We can only be love. In a time like right now, I have never seen the world look more insane. But again, I'm seeing it out of my camera. And when I'm seeing it out of my camera, I believe it. But again, that is a camera. I need to go to the Christ, the higher self, and look from vision to say it's all perfect. It's just a beautiful symphony of a call for love. That's what this world really is. I would bet that most people are in heavy need for love. And the one thing I think that I've always wanted was acceptance. Acceptance. But acceptance is that it is what it is. This is all a happening. We have no clue why. If anyone tells you they do, I just think it's fabricated from the wrong mind. Because how could we know anything when we didn't even know, or I know anything, if I didn't know what I already was? This process is a gift, but the expectation is just to be here now and let it unfold. And try as I might, turn it over in every kind of situation to spirit. And that's the trust of the fact that none of this really happened. So it's like it's a paradox. But I'm going to turn this over hopefully to Karen. If you want to pick up the mic, Karen, that'd be wonderful.
Thank you, Sharon. Thank you, Dove. Such great sharing this morning. I love everything you both shared, and what Sharon shared about love, reminded me of the quote that Ken shares a lot by Saint Augustine: love and do what you will. And for me, that means that come from a place of love with everything, everything. And, I learned how to do that by not doing that. Ken said this morning, I listened towards the end, he says, making Jesus different was the first attack on God's Son. Hate. Hate is synonymous with seeing differences. So I had this hate at the time that I was learning what love is not. I had this hate that I was going through a divorce with my husband and I hated him. And I went to Florida to visit my sister, who was very advanced in A Course in Miracles at the time. I was not even really into A Course at the time. And she said, Karen, you have to come from a place of love. And I looked at her and laughed. I said, are you kidding me? Like, how can I love this guy? I hate him. And I just kept saying all the things that he was doing to me. I was not there yet. This is a process. I learned how to love by not loving. And now I live by, you put the Holy Spirit first. You love first. Put the kingdom of heaven first, and all else will be given unto you. That's what we're learning here. The other thing that I love what Dove shared from, I love lesson 95 too, but what really always pops out to me is in lesson 5, where he talks about that. He says, unless you are reminded of your purpose frequently, you tend to forget about it for long periods of time. You often fail to remember the short applications of the idea for today. I am one self united with my creator. And you have not yet formed the habit of using the idea as an automatic response to temptation. So we learn that miracles are habits, and if they are not happening, there's something wrong. If I am not forgiving, I am hating. It's either love or fear, which is really that disguised hate that is underneath. And there is also being led to chapter, the very last section in the course is choose once again, chapter 31, section 8. And he says, learn then the happy habit of response to all temptation, to perceive yourself as weak and miserable with these words: I am as God created me. His son can suffer nothing, and I am his son. This is also repeated in lesson 110, which is I am as God created me. And this goes in line with today's lesson. I am not a body, I am free. So this is all lessons in forgiveness. This is all recognizing that whenever I see a brother that needs help, it is a call for love, seeing through the form, seeing through the behavior, seeing through whatever seems to be happening. I see the love. That's what the Holy Spirit in my mind shows me. In today's lesson, Ken Wapnick says that we are to ask the decision maker in our minds to think about the truth that we are God's son and not the egos. We know we have chosen wrongly whenever we feel pain in any form, are in distress, or believe in the importance of our specialness needs. So this is how the course has helped me so much. This idea that I am not a body, I am free. has really helped me to really see that my biggest classroom is my body, because it continually teaches me that I am not this body, because it's constantly changing. And the truth of who I am doesn't have any distress or believe in specialness or feel any pain in any form. And the Course has a remedy for that in chapter 5. I must have decided wrongly because I am not at peace. I can see this differently. I'm willing to see this differently. So I love to be reminded of the truth. I was talking to Michaela yesterday, and she had to put her dog down. And it's really sad, when we have an animal, and I haven't had an animal in years, but I know what it's like. I have had animals for years and had to put the animal down. And it is like losing a family member. And we were just saying how, this ain't easy here. This ain't easy. And Ken says, if you think this is easy, you're not paying attention. So we both basically shared the truth with each other and said that we need to be reminded of the truth. Unless you are reminded of your purpose frequently, you tend to forget about it for long periods of time. I constantly need to be reminded, and I'm so grateful for that. Thank you.
All right. There's so much to be grateful for. Yeah, love is the way I walk in gratitude. To have gratitude for waking up and realizing that what you believed to be true before was complete nonsense, illusion. Illusion is the opposite of truth. Only the truth is true. As Jesus says, I'll sum up this entire course for you in 3 lines. The whole course, 1,300 pages. What's true, what's real, can't be threatened. What's untrue, unreal, doesn't even exist. You gotta laugh. We actually spend most of our life believing in what doesn't exist. It is so nice to come to a place where you get a clearing. Speaking of clearing, I think Karen brought up, I see Robert here, Robert Sears, and Robert had introduced us to the other day, and so happy that he did that, to Sandy Levy-Lundeen. I was talking to Sandy the other day, and I was telling her how her life seems to be so guided by divine guidance. Like even when she went up to the it was a guy who had no home. He was asking for money for food, and she says, "What is it that you really want?" And he says, "All I want is peace." She says, "That's a great name for a book, I mean, it didn't come to her; it came to her through him. Everything comes through our brothers and sisters, but you have to be open and aware. She has that kind of mind where she's open and aware. I was talking to her that I when she said, Dietrich thinks of her as a sister. I said, wow, I mean, you must have a great relationship for him to think of you as a sister. He says, well, she said, I did a clearing for him. She said, do you want to hear about it? I said, sure. So he was at a place where he was in fear of money, something that a lot of us go through, like, I'm not going to have enough, and where am I going to get the money? And she did a clearing for him. She said, did you know that that's how he got the place he has in Costa Rica? She says, have you ever been there? I said, no, I haven't, but I've heard about it. I've seen it. It's like, she said it's over 100 acres or something. I mean, that's enormous. She says, how do you think he got it? Well, after her clearing, she cleared him, people who love Dietrich, his benefactors, got together and bought it for him. Oh my God. I didn't know that story. So he has that place in Costa Rica that uh, he was given it by friends, people, God is now lesson 50. I'm sustained by the love of God. But if you're blocking the love of God, you know, you wonder like how am I going to survive? How am I going to get by? How can I do? But those are all ego questions. The ego is always in fear. So after the clearing, I mean that's it. That speaks so well of her clearings. I was thinking of asking her to do a clearing for me. You know what I mean? Talking about clearings, I just want to make a very short announcement as long as today is Thursday. This Saturday at 9 o'clock, excuse me, at 10 o'clock in the morning at Maureen Muldoon's. If you want that link, I'll give it to you. I'm doing the second Saturday of every month is the second Saturday, uh, a class called Be Grateful for Your Triggers. And most of you know that that's on my card. Be grateful for your triggers because they reveal your mistaken beliefs. So that's what we're talking about. Anytime you believe in anything in this world of make believe that doesn't exist, you're going to have all kinds of mistakes. But be grateful for them because that's how you catch your mistakes. I mean, if you went through life, and you never made any mistakes, you would go right through life and you wouldn't learn anything. And, as he tells you in lesson 193, all things are lessons God would have me learn. Yeah, so I'm not here to kind of trip the light fantastic. I'm here to learn lessons. And what better lessons to learn than when you found one of your own beliefs, one of your own thoughts that are mistaken. And, it kind of gets back to what was said here earlier. I think it was Sharon who started it, talking about uh, uh, walking through, well, I don't know what your actual thing. Oh, lost in thought. Yeah, lost in thought. Yeah. Uh, that comes from Eckhart Tolle and Sharon. You're lost in thought, but they're not my thoughts. How do you know that? Well, I got that from the Course in Miracles. They aren't my thoughts. Well, if they're not your thoughts, then who is it? Well, it's Dove, the ego's thoughts. And I really don't have any needs for ego thoughts anymore. Now, the ego is always looking at my brother's past, and that's in today's reading. He says, you do not use anything that your brother has done before to condemn him now. You freely choose to overlook his errors, looking past all barriers between yourself and him, seeing them as one, and in that one, you see your faith is fully justified. There's no justification for faithlessness, but faith is always justified. So faith is the same as trust, but in a way, faith is just saying I have total faith in God, my Father, who loves me so. And trust does the same thing, except you're having faith in your brother because your brother is God's son. If you're God's son, your brother is God's son because we are one in union, one in faith, one in equality. And as you know, equality is one of my favorite words. As Karen says, only the equal experience peace. Chapter 7, section 1 or 3, I don't know. Only the equal experience peace. So if the goal of this course is peace, You can only have peace by seeing your brother as the same as you, but Christ. Imagine seeing your brother's past and blaming your brother for something that happened in the past. That means you're listening to your ego, because the ego lives in time. But the Son of God lives in eternity, which is right now. This holy instant of now is all there really is in reality. So the moment I think about the past, I'm not the Son of God anymore. I'm the ego. So you have to really choose. That's why my mantra lesson 25, it's so pure. It really is. He starts off with purpose is meaning. Purpose is meaning. It's a 3-word sentence. Whenever you find a 2, 3, 4, 5, 6-word sentence, he wants you to listen. Right, Zuma? Zuma's not here yet. In the old days, it came to me that most of the course is written which iambic pentamina, as they say, Shakespearean iambic pentamina. But every now and then he gives you a 2-word sentence like God is, period. He wants you to listen. He wants you to wake up. This is not iambic, blah, 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 blah. And one of those 3-word sentences is purpose is meaning. And as Ken Wapnick says, only purpose is meaning, nothing else. Now, why is that? Because purpose is a property of mind, not of the body, of mind. Purpose, you find purpose in mind. Now, of course, we have 2 different minds. We have the ego's thought of, oh, my mind is working perfectly between my ears, right? And then there's the mind of God that has nothing to do with what's between your ears. So, this mind has a purpose called survival. You better get it right, Doug, or you're going to lose. You're going to be wrong. You better get it right. That's the ego's purpose. And then there's spirit's purpose. Wake up. You're dreaming. You got to laugh. It's simply, hi, Mikhail. Are there anyone have any thoughts they want to share here at all? Yes, Lynn.
All right. Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Dove and Sharon and Karen. So wonderful to have you this morning. Zelma may or may not be here today because her lovable has been having some of those seizure episodes, and so she is very concerned about him and may or may not be coming in. And Michaeli, I just wanted to say I'm so sorry to hear about your baby. I know how hard that is, and God bless us. I'm just sitting here thinking, maybe we're now gonna have to all become cat people because all of my dogs are gone and I have cats, and a lot of people I know have got cats now. Never had cats before. That's weird to me. That's very strange to me. Anyway, that's not why I wanted to say anything. I wanted to mention about Sandy. Well, first off, I wanted to mention that remembering or not, and I'm certainly not, I didn't help the situation, I'm sure, but Bob is having a meeting on Wednesday mornings now. And so yesterday yesterday morning it was just he and I because no one came, even someone he had invited specifically who said they would be there didn't come, and rather than being, upset or disappointed, we took the opportunity to chat and to get to know each other a little bit better. And so I was really, really pleased about that. I'm really pleased about this whole direction, especially with Sandy having joined us, just even for that whole program, because right from the start, Sharon and I both went to Diedrich when he came to Colorado and did a workshop. And we both went to that and learned the 6-step process and spend time, practicing that. And I found it to be extremely helpful, so helpful that I wanted to actually become better at it, and or to be able to actually do it. And so that, and knowing Diedrich said that he had worked with and does work with the Attitudinal Healing Foundation with Jerry Jampolsky. So I assumed that the process that he was doing was attitudinal healing. And so I went. First off, I got a hold of Jerry Jampolsky. I interviewed him and Diane here. I think I still have that interview somewhere, some file somewhere. A lot of those files got lost when uh, um, different databases went down. Anyway, so I talked to Jerry Jampolsky. He invited me out to California to they have an annual, or had an annual conference. Invited me to the conference, and then I was able to go through the training to become attitudinal healing circle person and being able to do that. So I got trained and whatever certified to do that through that program. It was like a week long, and we did a lot of practicing. But as we were learning about the process, we went through the first couple of steps of the process, and then it was like they just totally skipped the whole part where you ask the question, when was the first time you experienced this feeling? Go back into your life, experience it, remember it, think about it. What was it that you thought when this first time you experienced this feeling? And maybe it was when you were a small child. Maybe it was last week. Someone said the other day, I think, said that the first time they experienced something was last week, which is great, if that's it, or, very, very recently. But anyway, that whole process of looking at where did this belief come from, this belief that you have about yourself that has absolutely shaped your own self-worth, that has given you the opinion of yourself as either good or bad. These things all stem from incidents in our lifetime, which we do not understand what the purpose of it is. And so we assume that it means that we're guilty, we're wrong, we're bad, we're faulty, something's happened to us. And so we believe that. We go through our lives believing this about ourselves because mommy yelled at me, or whatever. So that, and then you can bring that up whenever you're having like you're experiencing this feeling of abandonment, fear of abandonment. And so you can, instead of saying, oh, I don't want to feel like I'm being abandoned, I'm not being abandoned, obviously I'm not being abandoned, I'm going to let go of feeling abandoned. Instead of doing that, you go into, when was the first time I felt abandoned? And you go and you look at that and you recognize what that belief or that thought about being abandoned, what that meant to you in your life, how that affected you as far as your own belief, your own self-worth, and understanding of your purpose here. And so once you can go back and say, that had nothing to do with me, then you can look at anything that comes up wherein the feeling of a sense of abandonment comes up and realize, this has nothing to do with me. This is a thing that was implanted in my brain, like the sounds of silence. It's there. And so by doing that, I can put on my camera. I don't look that bad this morning, I don't think. Anyway, in doing that, uh, you actually become free of that belief about yourself. You no longer believe that because you see it's not true. Just like, once you recognize there's no Santa Claus, you're no longer waiting for an old fat man to come down the chimney. That's what it is. And so that's breaking us apart from that belief about ourselves is the key to not only healing, clearing this, but also remembering the truth of who we are. And then the next steps that go on about, recognizing, reaffirming the truth of who I am, reaffirming the truth of who I am, and then saying, forgive me for imagining, turning to our partner and saying, forgive me for imagining that I was this broken being, this abandonable being. And you do this little process with other people. All of that came from Sandy. That's why they didn't do it at attitudinal healing with Jerry Jampolsky's people, because that was not their process. That was an amalgamation. What Diedrich is doing is an amalgamation of Jerry's work, very little of it actually, and the majority of it is Sandy's work. And I can see that very clearly when I started reading Sandy's work and looking at the stuff that she put up the other night when she was here. And so seeing that, as I mean, I don't know what that means. To me, it just is. It explains to me why. Because when I was at the attitudinal healing training, and I said, "Hey, wait a minute, why aren't we doing this part?" And they were looked at me like I was out of my mind and said, "We don't talk about people's past. We don't ask them tell us anything. We don't." And I realized, because they are working with the general public. And so they're going to prisons and they're going all kind of places. They don't want to get into psychology with these people. They just want to teach them a process that'll make them feel better for a little while. But the actual healing comes from that digging into, where the hell did this come from? And why did I believe it? Why do I believe it now? Why am I letting it inform my life now? So completely different. And I mean, out in California, I got so pissed off. I just went and sat in the restroom, and I just sat there and thought, how can they call this healing when they're not doing the work that really heals? And I had to reconcile it with myself and decide, yeah, I'm going to go back and get this anyway. I'm going to go back and finish this anyway. And because I was ready to leave, I was mad. I mean, that's how crazy. And that's been how many years ago? But yeah, I was ticked off about that. And I also realized, I mean, that's something about the personality of Lynn that just tends to go off on some crazy things like that. Anyway, that's really all I had to say. And Bob is putting in about his essays and stuff. So anyway, Bob has put in the chat the business about his group on Wednesday mornings. Like I said, I went and hung out with him, and we had a great time chatting for a while. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this on our calendar, but put his link in it so that people will know not to come into our room, but to go into Bob's room for his group. And then we're going to figure out a way to get these joined up somehow on YouTube. I don't know. Karen, let's see who. Karen has her hand up and Dove has his hand up. I don't know who
Dov,
was.
go ahead. Go ahead first, Dov.
I just want to say now everything makes sense. Sandy calls me yesterday and says, does Robert have a teaching going on today? I said, no, because we're closed on Wednesday. Lynn takes a day off, so it couldn't be then. So I said, let me look up the schedule. I know he's here somewhere. I'm looking on the schedule and he doesn't appear. I said, well, I think you have to talk to Robert directly. So she said, well, yeah, put me in touch with Robert. No wonder. I guess it wasn't on our Zoom. Is that it?
No, not on our Zoom. It's on Robert's Zoom.
Oh, it was on Robert's. Okay.
So that's why I'm going to put it on our schedule, but put his Zoom link
Okay.
there. So people will know. And if you click on the schedule, it'll bring up his Zoom link, not ours.
Because
So
our schedule is really accurate because you keep it accurate. I'm saying, but where's Robert's name?
yeah, no, yeah, he's not in our Zoom on Wednesdays. He's in his own. So yeah, thank you. Anything else, Dove? All right, Karen, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Lynn. I thought she was absolutely amazing. I didn't get to hear the whole thing, but I'm going to listen to it. Um, what I wanted to say was, I have believed for so long that all of our issues stem from childhood. Everything that is a real issue stems from childhood. And I think that you're so right. We have to heal that first to get past it because it will continue. It will continue. I mean, I thought of what that question, and Ken also asked that question. Ken would see, I guess because he was, he had the training and he knew that that's where the problems come from. And he would ask his students, remember the first time you felt that way, because that is so significant. And I was able to think about that. I'm not going to share it live because we're live right now, but and it had to do with, really I allowed it to make me feel really small, really small and insignificant and not worthy. So we take these things seriously, and it's because of our parents. What our parents say to us, and they don't know any better. They're just learning how to be parents. But it could be one thing that your parent says to you that could affect you for the rest of your life. So I think that is so important. So I just wanted to join you in that. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. And that's the work that Bob's going to be doing on his Wednesday morning group. Is we're going to be like doing that Sandy Levy's work. So if you have time to join with him, it's 10. I forget what time it is. Oh, he put it in the chat, and I am, like I said, I'm going to put it on the. It's 9 a.m. 9 a.m. Pacific, so it's at noon Eastern, I believe, right? Yeah, noon Eastern. So on Wednesdays. And even though that is my day off, um, I have one other meeting once a month that I go to on a Wednesday. So I will be happy to join Bob in that and help, maybe co-facilitate or be a sounding board or bring my own issues. I think it'll be great. And I think it's a wonderful way of doing this. So okay, so Danny, hi, sweetheart. Welcome and good morning.
Hi, I am so grateful for this radio station that I discovered like a week ago, or maybe a little more, because I'm listening to this a lot and it resonates with where I am right now. Everything is like so beautiful, and the ongoing radio that I found out that you tap from the top talks, there are different speakers that I studied over the years, so it's amazing. And what I wanted just to share about what Karen was sharing about the childhood, I think it's even more than just the childhood. There is the concept of samskaras, the hidden tendencies that we have inside our subconscious mind. And they are collected from like the illusion of lifetimes. It's an illusion, but still the body is also an illusion. So if we speak about childhood, we speak about the past, which is an illusion, and the body is an illusion. So we add to this the illusion of past lives, and we add to this all the samskaras that we have inside ourselves that are the hidden tendencies that we collected over so many, who knows, because time doesn't really exist. So the beauty of the Course in Miracles and what we are doing here is that it brings us to the present moment. And that is what helps me recently, because I suffered from all those depressions and I probably will still go through them. But right now I'm in a state of clarity, and I can see that even this state of clarity is just a state of mind, and the mind is just a bunch of thoughts, and God has a presence that is eternal beyond thoughts. So what helps me recently is going back to that presence in the moment, just to be there. And I that's all that I wanted to share. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Danny. Oh, so clear, and thank you. Yes, and of course those samskaras, I absolutely understand that. It is really what we bring with us from from the collective. Actually, what we're doing through that is, this is how I see it. What we're doing through bringing these samskaras and working them out in our lifetimes, what we're doing is we're clearing the collective consciousness. We're doing it for everyone. And that's pretty much what a Course in Miracles says. When I do this, the whole sonship receives the benefit. And when I do this, we save thousands of years of misery. It really is a beautiful opportunity that we have to help clear the world and clear this. And so thank you for bringing that up. And honest, I'm so grateful that you are listening on the radio. And yes, I like to. I have a whole bunch of different things that I like to play on the radio. I like to listen to them myself. So whatever I want to hear, that's what I'm going to play. And I'm so glad that you appreciate it. And if you have any requests, if there's anybody that you'd like to hear, because most great teachers these days are available on YouTube. And I play a lot of things from YouTube on the radio. So I just play it right through. So if you have any requests of anybody you'd like to hear, I'd be happy to put them on there. So can't tell when, but they definitely will show up. So thank you. McKaylee, sweetheart, welcome.
Oh, thank you, Lynn. I just wanted to tell you thank you for a couple things this morning. First of all, that I'm definitely interested in Sandy and Bob's class, and I'm so glad that you're going to be putting the Zoom link on, because the Zoom link that Bob had put on the other day, it wasn't the whole one like he has on the chat today. So the timing is perfect, 9 p.m. Pacific time, because I attend another class on Wednesdays at 10 o'clock. And what I really loved about Sandy's work is it's kind of like, I'm very attracted to Ken Wapnick and also to the work of Freud because of the unconscious. And it might be because within this lifetime, this dream, this script, I've obviously written a lot of trauma, and because I've had 3 suicides that I've had to deal with. So, there's an unconscious, and I am also into Vedanta, which is the samskaras. And yeah, it's something that we bring in. So that's where I've studied science of mind and all of that. And I love the positivity, but I'm more attracted to uncovering what is hidden, the unconscious. So I'm really, really looking forward to this on 9 a.m. on Wednesdays, because that's what I see within myself, and a lot I see it within my children, my two boys. I see it within others, that there's a hidden layer. You got to take it deeper. You got to keep taking it deeper. It's like they say, you keep peeling the layer of the onion, and you get more layers and layers and layers. Because I found with some of the great teachers that I've had in my life, even uh, my science of mind practitioner, uh, it was like a band-aid though. She was so positive, so wonderful. She helped me in so many ways, but she had a lot of trauma that she brought in, and it was almost like she couldn't look at it. She had this band-aid over it, and she ended up passing away during COVID. With which death is a choice, right? She was put on life support, and she was still young. She was like 72. Beautiful lady. I was sorry to see her leave, at that time. And then the second thing is, I just wanted to tell you thank you for my little doggy Choopy. I had to put her to sleep yesterday. She was choosing to leave us, and she was refusing to eat. So I was syringing her, and the only way she was able to eat was through my syringing her, which we keep patients alive that way, right? In the end. But she did drink some water yesterday, but for the past 2 days, I was going back and forth and just asking the Holy Spirit for help on what I should do with her. And it finally came to the most compassionate thing to do was to take her in. And I told her to go to the light. I told her to take Jesus's hand and the Holy Spirit. And the doctor was in the room, and I kept talking to her, because what they do is, it's very compassionate. I held her head. They put a catheter in her vein, and then they give her they put her to sleep. So her little head just kind of plopped in my hand as I was whispering in her ear to go to the light. So then she's asleep, just like you would before surgery, and then they inject her to stop her heart, and then they take a stethoscope that she's gone. And then I told the staff, I said, because they wrapped her up in a little blanket, and I'm getting her ashes cremated. And I told the staff, I said, the last thing to go is hearing, so that they would be kind to her, because I don't know how long that hearing, lasts. And I know with my patients, we always, are very empathetic and compassionate with the patients when they pass away from the physical form, because that's why they sit around the body and do the prayers a lot of times. So I just wanted to tell you thank you for that, for my little doggy Choopy, and also thank you for the class. The timing is perfect because it's at 9 a.m. on Wednesdays for me, and then I have Jeffrey Seibert from Ken Wapnick's group on at 10. So that's perfect. And I definitely need to keep looking at my samskaras, my traumas. So uncovering, unveiling that it's guilt and fear that obviously that I brought on. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah. And we're healing it for the world. And that is the beauty of it. And we're healing it for the world. Anybody else? I know because Zelma's not here, we've gone into her time. I'm sure nobody minds about that. But does anybody else have anything that they'd like to share? Because I'm thinking I might just replay Sandy, the recording from the other night. I have it queued up and everything. So folks who missed her, didn't see her, could see her and hear her before time for Mickey. Where's Mickey?
Oh, Lynn, I'm teaching for Mickey today.
Oh, okay.
Would you
I'd rather go earlier or later.
Oh, I mean, we could do it now. Yeah, I mean, we could do it. We could do it now. Just keep the flow going, and then we could listen to Sandy.
Yeah. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to close out this YouTube and open up a new one so we don't have a 3-hour YouTube.